I'm going to show you how to use a website called Pazilla.org to do descendancy research. So you're going to sign in using your family search account information. And when you sign in first, it's going to generate a 6-generation fan chart. You can change the number of generations here, but basically each one of these dots is a different person. This one is me. The pink ones are for women, the blue dots are for men. I'm going to want to come out here and find an ancestor who was born between about 1830 to 1870. That time range will help us find descendants who were living in the United States during a time where the records are most likely to give us the best information. So you're going to come up and you can just hover over these little dots, and you're hoping to find someone who was born in the United States between 1830 and 1870. So take a look until you find one that looks good to you, and just click on them. And you're going to want to click Descendants. And then this next view is interesting. So what this is showing now is the person that I clicked on is in the very center. And these lines are not their ancestors, they are the descendants of that person. So this first circle are her children, and this next one are her grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren. And you can see here, this yellow line shows the line that comes down to my family. So over here on the left, you can see we have a little key that gives us some more information about each of these descendants. Any descendant with a little yellow box, which you can see is right here next to this one, means that they died before they were 16 years old. So those descendants are very unlikely to have had children. And then the ones like these with this gray box next to them means that they were born within the last 110 years. That doesn't matter so much when you're just looking for an ancestor to add to your family tree, but later on when we're trying to find an ancestor to do temple work for, we need to find ones that were born earlier than 110 years ago. So right now we're going to focus on these ones that do not have children of their own showing up on the tree, do not have the yellow boxes, so we know that they lived old enough that they could have possibly had children at that age, and they don't have the gray boxes, so they were born over 110 years ago. So let's take a look at this one and go and view them in the family tree. And just like we learned before, we want to take a look down here and see, does it give us any more information? We see when he was born, but we don't know when he died, and we don't have any information about a spouse or children for him. So we want to find more, so we're going to search the records and see what we can find about this person. So when we get to this list of records, we're going to want to compare the information in this gray box at the top is the information that we have about this ancestor, Linton Graham, from our family tree. So we just know a little bit of info about his birth and we know his parents' names. And we'll want to compare that with these records to see if we can find him. Now we come down and look, and these first couple are census records. They look like they are records for our person because they've got the correct parents' names, but he was younger in those records and listed as the son. Scroll down and look a little further. Here's the 1920 census, so he would have been an adult at this time. So let's take a look at this one real quick. You can see here that here's the indexed information about the record and the information about who was living at the household at the time. He was 23 years old, but still living with his parents. It doesn't show a wife or children for him, but it might be worth taking a look at to see what we can learn, since we don't know very much information about him. So we'll zoom in, and since this is a census record, we want to scroll down the left side looking at the names when we're looking for the Graham family. And here they are. We've got William and Matilda Graham and their son Linton J. Now that's interesting. In the family tree, it said Linton M, but here it says Linton J. But it does have the correct names of the parents. He's the correct age, and here we see that he was born in Missouri. That's the correct place. So this is the right person, just had the wrong middle initial for him probably at some point. But we want to scroll over a little further. It tells where he was born and where each of his parents were born. And then over here, it tells us his occupation. He was 23 years old and he was working as an architect. So those are just clues we can use to try to identify him in later records. So now we want to go back and look at the list of records again. So here's the one we just looked at, the 1920 census for Linton J. Graham. And we hadn't looked at this one yet. This is the 1930 census. It also says Linton J. We are very interested in this record because it has a spouse and children. So we want to see if we think this is the right person. So here it tells us who was in the household. He was 33, born in Missouri, so that's the right age and the right name. He had a wife named Marie and a son named Neil and a daughter named Laura. And let's take a look at the census record to see if we think this is the right person or not. So we'll scroll down and look for the Graham family. And here he is, Linton J. Graham with his wife Marie and his son and daughter. And we want to scroll over and see what information we can find. He was 33 years old. He was 24 when he got married, and his wife was 18 when she got married. So that's a clue later to know when we should look for a marriage record for them. He was born in Missouri, and so were both of his parents. So this information all matches up so far. And we see here that he's an architect. And that matches our previous census record when he was living with his parents. So we know, yes, this is the right person for sure. So now that we've found these new family members, we can go back and add them to our family tree.